two of Joe Biden's most prominent allies have cast doubt over his re-election bid this morning. Former Speaker Nancy Pelosi says, quote, time is running short for Joe Biden to make a decision, while George Clooney has written a blunt op-ed in the New York Times, pulling his support for Joe Biden. Our Washington correspondent Annalise Nielsen, she brings it all together on another busy day out of DC. Annalise, the pressure is mounting on Joe Biden.
Look, Pete, there's a lot of moving parts and it's all happening while Joe Biden is attending the NATO summit. The first intervention today was from Nancy Pelosi. Now, she is an extremely senior figure within the Democrats and she's known to be a longtime ally of Joe Biden and a close one. So we follow closely what she says, even when it's a little nuanced. And so when she was asked on MSNBC this morning about whether she thinks Joe Biden should step aside, this is what she had to say.
Does he have your support to be the head of the Democratic ticket?
As long as the president it's up to the president to decide if he is going to run. We're all encouraging him to make that decision because time is running short.
Pete, another longtime Biden ally that's made their feelings known today is George Clooney. Now, you'll remember just a few weeks ago, George Clooney hosted a star-studded fundraiser for Joe Biden in LA. They raised about $30 million US, one of the highest grossing fundraising events for Joe Biden of all time. And you'll also remember this is where Joe Biden appeared to freeze on the stage and had to be led off by Barack Obama. The Biden administration called that a cheap fake and an interpretation that was unfairly critical of Joe Biden. But now we have this op-ed from George Clooney where he's talked about the fact that he's now changed his mind. He says in the last 4 years, that's Joe Biden's, won many of the battles he's faced, but the one battle he cannot win is the fight against time. None of us can. It's devastating to say it, but the Joe Biden I was with 3 weeks ago at the fundraiser was not the Joe big effing deal Biden of 2010. He wasn't even the Joe Biden of 2020. He was the same man we all witnessed at the debate. Was he tired? Yes. A cold? Maybe. But our party leaders need to stop telling us that 51 million people didn't see what we just saw. We're also terrified by the prospect of a second Trump term that we've opted to ignore every warning sign. While Congress is back in session, many lawmakers have been asked about Joe Biden, and the pressure's clearly mounting for those Democrats who are up for re-election. At every election, the entire House of Representatives is up for election, so every member of Congress has to go and win back their support within their districts, and a third of the Senate. So this means they're all worried about the down ballot implications. That means in America, when anyone goes to vote, they'll have on the same ballot the president, vice president, senator, congressman, right down to the local sewerage commissioner on the same ballot and all the judges on the other side. So if people are uninspired by Joe Biden and decide to not go to vote, that means that all these people down the ticket aren't getting a vote as well. So we've had the first senator say on the record that he doesn't think Joe Biden should run. Senators are extremely powerful in DC, so this is a big deal.
Donald Trump is on track, I think, to win this election and maybe win it by a landslide and take with him the Senate and the House. So for me, this isn't a question about polling. It's not a question about politics. It's a moral question about the future of our country. And I think it's critically important for us to come to grips with what we face if together we put this country on the path of electing Donald Trump again.
Pete, George Stephanopoulos was the only journalist given a sit-down interview with Joe Biden after the disastrous debate. He was approached by someone on the street in footage obtained by TMZ saying he doesn't think Joe Biden should run again either.
What do you think? Do you think Biden should step down? You talked to him more than anybody else have lately, and you could be honest. You don't think he can serve 4 more years? All right, that's an answer.
But in all this, Joe Biden is remaining defiant. He stopped by a meeting of leading unionists. This is the AFL-CIO, the most powerful union in the country in many senses. He met with the leader of the AFL-CIO. It was there he made a defiant statement that he's not going anywhere.
One, literally, and I mean this sincerely, is NATO. NATO, a joint assembly of democracies that made sure we're keeping the peace and no one's going to screw around with us, the strongest it's ever been. And I think of you as my domestic NATO. Not a joke. Not a joke. You're the ones You're the ones beyond me, and you know this better than I do. Beyond me.
So, Pete, pressure's mounting for this big press conference at the end of the NATO summit. We've been promised that there'll be more than 2 questions aside because we don't see a lot of press conferences with Joe Biden, and then pressure's mounting for Friday for a potential spill.
Yeah, and another big meeting of Democrats tomorrow too. Annalise, thank you. Another big day tomorrow.